Hello there, this is Ankur Malviya. Welcome to another vlog from Automation Mentors. So in this lecture, I'm going to show you how you can create CSS Selector in the proper way. And I will give you the small introduction on CSS Selector. I will show you an example of a commercial website where we can take an example and create some CSS selectors so that you can utilize in your script easily. So first of all, CSS Selector is one of the, we can say it's a uh, fast way to inspect element. That is first thing, and during execution also it is very faster. Second thing, what is CSS Selector? First of all, we should know. So CSS Selector is nothing else. It's a, what we can say, it is cascading style sheet selector. Basically these are all patterns used to select and style elements in HTML DOM. Okay, so let's start. So in this demo I'm going to show you how to use how to create CSS selector where we have tags, where we have some ID, or where we have some class, or where we have combination of that. Let's say tag with class, tag with ID, or some other combination. Let's say tag plus ID plus class. Okay, and also we'll see some conditions like where we have to see like starts with, okay, and ends with. What it starts, what do you mean by start with and end with? I will show you, but we will cover all this topic here in this demo. Okay, so let let me take an example. Let me open a commercial website for giving an example for this. So this is a commercial website called costco.com, and here you can see this is a web page for that. Okay, and this is an element here, this is a developer tool, and here you can see on this web element DOM, here you can find different tag names, different type of DOM is there, lot of link will be there, lot of script will be there. So if you see, this is console, and in this console let me type document is an object for this web page HTML, and let me find how many links are there. Okay, so let me use links. So here you can see there are a number of links. Okay, let me check how many document dot images, how many images are here. So let me, there are a lot of images. So here you can see by using this console I can find number of things. Even if you want to see some normal thing like document URL, so we can find the URL as well. This is a URL for this web page. Similarly, if you want to find the title, what is the title for this web page, so we can find the title. So that means this JavaScript context, whatever I'm using here, it is native to this HTML DOM. That's why I'm easily, without any script, I'm easy to easily find the expectation, the attribute values from here. Okay, similarly CSS selector is one of the way to interact with these web elements. So that's why tester, the first priority is used to CSS selector. Okay, so to find CSS selector, let me open up here in the down. So I just click Ctrl F. Once I click on Ctrl F, you can see on the bottom side I find this enter tab, input tab. From here we can find. So let's start with the first point, how to use tags for using CSS selector. So here you have seen there are different tabs like div, input and all. So let me check what if I type here div. So here we can see there are 1409 type of web elements start with this tag element. Similarly, if we go with input, so there are 123 elements here. Similarly, if we go with a script, so there are 286 elements are here. So here you can see this is a way how we can utilize with tag. Okay, so here I took an example of div, the other example I took the import, the different way. But we cannot use those web elements where the CSS selector is showing 1 out of 286 or 1408 and all. So we have to be like 1 out of 1, then only it is valid. So that means we are not using only tag as a inspector for the for any web element. But we can take id, because id is something which we can say it is sometimes it is unique. Let's say, let me take an example here. So I just wanted to have a web element which having an id. Let me, give me a minute, I'm just searching if I get some id here. So here I can see this is one id, okay, and this looks unique. Let me copy from here, control C, this is one trust style, and when I hover on it, so it will be somewhere on this screen, or let me check some other id. So let me use this one, let me check the cost coordinate. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, so this is script. So yeah, here you can see this is a link which is having an id called header assignment. So let me copy this, this is an id. For id we have to use a syntax called hash, and I need to paste as the value. So here you can see there are two elements, one out of two. We cannot use this one because there are two elements. So let me take some other example. So here also this is hardware attribute. Okay, let me take some other element. So this is a regional model, let me take this one. Control F, control C. Okay, take another one, let me open, let me expand this one. Okay, so it will be easy for me to, this is email offer, let me take some div. Okay, this is navigate and view Z, control C, control F. Okay, again it is 2. There are a lot of elements which is having dual value, so we need to avoid such kind of things. So let me take some other element which is having only id, one element returning to one element. So looks like it is very difficult to find such kind of element here. That's not a problem, let me figure out. This is script, no, that's fine. Control. Okay, so this is not a proper way, this is style. Okay, so a lot of iframe elements. Okay, unfortunately in this example, let me check this one if I am having this one. Okay, see, out of this many, so I found one input, the element which is start with the input tag and having this id is geocode service. Okay, so on this web page, this is some element which is somewhere on this web page having this web element address. Okay, so I'm not interested to look into that web element, but just for your information, since I'm taking the example, so we can use an id. So this is a way to what we can say, we write the CSS selector. So for id we need to use hash. Similarly for class we need to use dot, only dot. Okay, so here we have to use hash, and for this one dot. For tag, that is fine. Okay, so let me use some class name here. So we will get a lot of classes here. So class, okay, okay, so here you can see this is class name here. So let me take some other example where I can see the proper class name with some div tag name or input tag name. That would be more good actually if we take that one. Okay, this is error, so let me take this one. So if I write dot class, see here we need to use dot here, this is this class. So here the class and the value of class is class here. Okay, so I can see there is one element. Okay, let me take some other example so that you can understand. So give me a minute, let me open one more page. So Google page, let's say Google page. Okay, and let me inspect from here, so that will be more good. So here you can see this is a class name. Okay, so let me use control C, control F. It may return two elements, let me check. Okay, See here, this is 2 out of 2. So let me use this one, Control F. So again 1 out of 2, because it may have 2 or more class with the same name. Okay, so but this is a way we can inspect the class by using this dot and then paste it. Okay, so most of the web elements are here 1 out of 2 and 2, but we cannot use this one. Just for example, I'm taking this one. Okay, this is a notation way we have. So the right way, if we want to use the proper element, we have to use a combination. So let me take this example where I have used this one. Okay, here you can see this is a class. Okay, and having the div, so we can use like this. So div is a tag and class. So here now we can see we have found the proper element, div dot class. Okay, so this is one way where we can div and class. What I have written here? Here I have written tag dot class. Okay, the another way what we can write here, we can also use tag, and here we can find the attribute. This is generic denotation, attribute, and the value of it. Like here, if we want to use this one, so what we can write here? We can write tag. What is our tag? Tag is div. We can write div, and the attribute is class, and what is the value here? Value is this one. We can write under single apostrophe, single quote. Copy it, paste it. If it is written 1 out of 1, then we can use. Okay, so looks like this is something it's not working. Let me check why it's not working. It should work. I hope I copy proper or not. Okay, so here I missed one B. Okay, so Control C, Control V. So now you can see 1 out of 1 element is working. So there are two ways. One is this one, second is this one. So this one means both are same, and the second is this one where we are using attribute is equal value, so we can use this one. Okay, so there are different way how we can demonstrate tag with class name. So next is tag with ID. Okay, so tag with ID, we can use tag, hash, and ID value. This is one way. The another way is the same, this way, like tag, attribute. What is attribute? ID, and its value. We can use either way we can use. So let me take from here. We have a lot of IDs here. We can take that one. So we have found, I'm taking this Costco page example. So here we have an ID. Okay, this is style. So this is there. So account ID is account menu, and the tag is div. So let me copy the ID. So I'm using tag name and hash and the ID. So here we can see the 1 out of 1. So let me copy it, paste it. So this is an notation for that. The other way we can utilize here is this one. So what we can do, we can pass the ID value, and inside that ID we can pass this one. Okay, let me copy it, whether I'm able to inspect this with way or not. So yeah, this is fine, 1 out of 1. So you have seen two way. One is this one, and another is with this one. Okay, and the third way, which is a more concrete and more good, if we are using combination of tag, ID, and class, but we should have that kind of element. So how we can use? So tag dot class, and here inside it we can do as value. That is one way we can utilize. Okay, so let me take an example from the Google page where we have all these three things. So let me figure out where we have that element. So I hope we have this one here. So this is our class, this is text area as a tag, this is a class, and we should have ID as well here. Do we have ID here? No, it's not there. So let me take some other value. This is div, Okay, we have this one here, dialog box, but there is no meaning to take that one. Let me take some other example. JS name text is there, ID is there. Mhm. It takes some time if you are randomly finding some examples. So most of the time, so let me take an ID here. Hmm. So ID is not here, right? Not here. So give me a minute. So let me open a page called, or let me take, this is good website Selector Hub. So this is good website where you can go and do a lot of steps for testing. So this is practice page. Definitely this page is having that combination. So here you can see this is a page where we have class, tag, ID and class, so we can use this. So we have tag is a div, the ID is page, and this is class name. So let me use that. So what is our um, tag is div. What is class is this one. Okay, and we have ID called, oh I missed that, I believe. Okay, no worries. Let me inspect again. Hmm, we have ID, right? We can inspect from here. Or let me take some other example. So since there are a lot of things which are inside Shadow DOM, sometimes we are unable to inspect that as well. But let me take an example where we have an ID. So here we can see this is some ID. Okay, this is a page. Okay, whether it is Shadow DOM, page ID is page. Okay, ID is page, class is that. ID is page, class is that. Okay, so this is a class, and this is div. Okay, and here you can see why it is how about a one. So ID is this one. Okay, so this must be inside in Shadow DOM, I believe. That's why we are not inspecting this. Let me take an example from here. Take some other example here, like Amazon.com. Okay, take an example here. So we have button type. Do we have ID here? So this is another website which we can utilize for our testing. Okay, so let me take, so we have this one here. Okay, so in this page you can see if I use this one, so it is inspecting somewhere here. So let me use some check boxes. So let me open and close this one. So if you are using this checkbox, so let me open the checkbox here. So this is ID, this is form. So here you can see this is some footer. Okay, so here we have good combination of ID, class and div. So let me take ID as footer, page footer, class is row, div. Okay, so div is there, then row is there. Okay, so here we can see if we are using tag and row combination, tag and class, so we have 1 out of 3. So let me use ID. What I am getting, still I am getting 3. No, we are getting 1 out of 1. So this is a good example. Sorry I have waited you for long time because I did not got the right example. So this is the right way. So this is a good example where we have used the tag name, that dot class name, and the ID as attribute and its value. So it is always good to use the combination of different attributes. That is one thing. But if we are sure that we have the specific ID and ID is not getting changed with respect to time, so it is always better to use ID. But the recommendation is always use the combination of two, like tag with class, tag with id, or tag with id and class. Everything's fine. Okay, so now we are some, let's say, when to use start with. Let's say we have some test data, and test data naming structure is like this: test 1 2 3, um, and after that zoo, and like abc, some kind of this kind of syntax is coming, where some element which is start with, which is having like this, or the element will be like having the same thing, but only few things are changing, like this is changing some, this is changing to some other value. But we are sure that we will be having we will be having something like test always will be there in the first three letters of one, or first word will be test, or second word will always be a test. So in this condition we can inspect, and even we can ask our, we can create our web element inspector like that. If it start with test, inspect that element, something like that. So in CSS selector we have a technique called, where we can use attribute. Okay, for start with we can utilize as the upcap and the value. This way we can inspect. Okay, this is a way we can inspect it. Okay, so if you are using tag, so the better way to use tag and attribute like this. Okay, so let me check from here. Take this example. So I want to inspect this example. Here you can see this is example class name, and the attribute is div. So let me use this one. So give me a minute. So here in this example I am just copying it, div. Okay, and now I am going to utilize a class name, and I am using the upcap, and here I just wanted, what is the class name here, context. Okay, sorry, example. So I just wanted to type example, that's fine. So I use only first two or three letters of this word, and I can be see that how many elements are there, 1 out of 1. Okay, let me check. If I use only e, how many elements, how many classes start with e? Okay, there is only one, that is good. Similarly, if I use id, let's say id checkbox, so let me check. So we should get some more elements. So id is this. So id start with in, so that is different, that is form. Okay, or input. So let me take input tag. So here you can see with input check what happened. Okay, id is this checkbox, type, or this is type. Okay, so here you can see there are 1 out of 2 elements. Okay, so that means there are two checkbox having type checkbox. Okay, let me take one example here. Here you can see checkbox 1, checkbox 2, but this is not a right way. But if we use this start with, right, so start with, we have to use this format, so we can copy and paste it. So that is good example. Okay, so that is good example, here we can put it. Okay, next is ends with. So what is ends with? Ends with is again the same way. Let me example. So if we have some element which always ends with some specific string, or some specific combination of few things like integer, here let's say abc is always will be there in that particular value, so it is good to use that one. So here the process is the same way: attribute tag attribute. Okay, but here we have to use this $sign and the value. Okay, that we can utilize. So let me use this one, this type only, and here check box. So box means box, So I'm using the last word of that checkbox. So again I'm saying getting two elements, so that means fine. Checkbox ends with box, or we can use x as well, that's not a problem. Okay, so that way we can have this uh, context. So this is ends with. So I hope you understood how do you select it CSS selector here. And the process to inspect element is always, you have to use the combination. Okay, now the process is, if you want to, let's say if I inspected this input, I want to go back to its parent, let's say form, we cannot go from CSS selector. It is not possible to go back. Like in XPath we have an element, we have XPath, accesses like parent, we can go to parent, we can go to ancestor, we can go to any parents, similarly child, any child. So but here we cannot go to the back, but forward we can go. So let's say for input we have some forward element, let's say here if we have this one, so if we go front we can go. So for that what we need to do, let me take this example. We have for this div we have another script, or take this example div id. Let me take this one. We have input, we have a div, and we have an id here. Okay, so id is this one. So we have an id. Okay, so now I want to go from this div to the next, to the child, or to the further. So we can use this forward arrow button. Okay, and we can type div. So next, from this div to next div we can go. Similarly from next this div to next div we can go by using this forward or greater than sign. So this way we can go to the further, to the forward step. Okay, but we cannot go to backward. So one thing we need to note, that we cannot go to backward, always forward. Okay, that is one drawback, but this is fastest way to inspect an element, and in a script as well. If you are using CSS selector, it is always working. And for the shadow DOM, this is only a way to use CSS selector for inspecting web element. I hope you understood this video. In the next lecture I'm going to create a proper way for creating an XPath and the other things I'm going to cover. Hope you like this video. Thank you for watching.